You might have seen the alarms. Y2K fashion is back. Over the past couple of years, this trend has been spread over fashion magazines, social media, and TV shows. But what does it mean? I thought this was a good opportunity to reflect on the fashion cycle as a concept and how it can mean different things to different people. You see, I kept seeing these highlights everywhere. Y2K fashion is back. The resurfacing of the low-rise jeans. All of this. And yet none of the photos I was seeing from social media, from people hopping on the trend, really meant Y2K fashion to me. And that's because while celebrities were sporting way too low-rise jeans and midriff exposing camisoles, you know the look. I was a chubby kid with already complex body issues from a young age, so Y2K fashion meant something entirely different to me. It meant Avril Lavigne, plaid, and my very embarrassing light emo phase. But similarly, I've been recently feeling the pull away from cottagecore to these nostalgic looks. So why does this work on me too? Fashion as a concept includes a circularity, a cycle, where elements from previous fashions and trends resurface after some time. They can come back in its pure form, almost exactly as they were the first time around, or alter to match new beauty ideals or concepts. And this circularity of fashion is not new. Trends resurfaced in the 18th, 19th and 20th century alike. Even as fashion changed dramatically in shape, it often had specific trends reminisced a previous decade or century. For example, in the 1880s, there was a Rococo revival, and many corsets and bodices were shared in Victorian magazines as bodice à la Marie Antoinette. The 1880s were characterized by the dramatic bustle and high necklines, so the styles of the Rococo were adapted for evening wear mostly, where there was more flexibility on styling and design. 18th century Rococo fashion emphasized very low square-cut or oval necklines, which came back into fashion, and decorations such as bows, lace and ribbons around the neckline. The fact that two such distinct fashions, the 18th century Rococo and the 1880s bustle, found a common ground to emulate shows the pervasiveness of fashion. Marie Antoinette's fashion at this point was nearly 100 years old, and a throwback indeed. Yet the 2000s were just over 20 years ago. Most people would have worn these fashions the first time around, and some, like me, might even still have pieces in their wardrobe from the time period. I can't let anything go. So what is Y2K fashion? Typically, Y2K refers specifically to the year 2000, where modernity entered a new century amidst the rise in the development and availability of technology. I would argue that for the social consciousness, Y2K actually probably spans more like 1999 to 2004-ish. And that's because trends often take a little time to percolate, though the fast fashion infrastructure of the 2020s makes this much faster. On a personal note, I lived in rural Portugal, so my fashion came to me through MTV mostly, but there was a definite lag between what I saw on TV and what was available in the shops. So I think, geographically speaking, that's why the range needs to be bigger as well. Y2K fashion, in my opinion, looks different depending on how you interacted with pop culture at the time. It might mean butterfly clips, Ugg boots, and juicy couture to some people. To me, it meant layered belts, elbow gloves, and plaid, cargo, and camouflage patterns. And I think this is one of the most interesting things about fashion, is what it means individually to people. How we can take what can be considered a global wide trend and make it our own, make it mean something to us. And this is really what trends nowadays are capitalizing on, I think, a lot, is nostalgia. This is the reason I'm drawn to this, because even though the images I've been seeing of people taking Y2K fashion don't align with what I think of as Y2K fashion, it makes me think about Y2K fashion, and it makes me think about what I was doing when I was that young, and how I felt at the time, how I looked, what I wore. And I think that's what triggered in my brain the desire now to have some of those pieces back. So after seeing such a revival on social media, I started feeling my own nostalgic pull towards my then style. Enter the teddy dress. I saw the teddy dress on TikTok. It's a sewing pattern made by New Zealand-based pattern company My Keeper. The pattern immediately called out to me. It reminded me of skater dresses, one of my absolute favorite styles, but it had the super interesting feature of side lacing for adjustability. I could already see this becoming my new favorite everyday dress. So let's make it. The teddy dress pattern itself is very versatile. It comes in floor length, so you can just shorten it if you'd rather, which is easier to do than lengthening it, and exactly what I'll be doing. It comes with 2 neckline options, and the number of panels makes it ideal for color blocking or patchwork. For mine, I'll be using 3 meters of this 100% cotton red plaid that I bought in Paris. It was 15 euros, a great deal. So let's dive right in. So typically for a new pattern, you might be tempted to make a mock-up, and that is probably what is recommended for proper sewing. However, I am not going to make a mock-up, and this is because this is a loose fitting dress that is then going to be fitted with the ties at the side. So I can customize it through that, as loose or as tight as I want. So I've picked the size that is appropriate to my finished measurements. And the only thing I really did was that I measured from the waist up to the bust. And this is because you can adjust with the ties the sort of width of the garment, but you can't really adjust the length. So if the waist, the narrowest point of the fit, is in the wrong place, you can't really change that after cutting unless you do a seam and a lot of faff. So I've just measured, and I think this is about right for my bust to waist ratio. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out exactly as is. Okay, so the first step for this dress is actually to make the ties and the loops, and I thought it was worth mentioning because it's a slightly different method to the one that I did in my video about adding loops to dresses. So it's actually a really good way to do it. Of course, like the pattern piece is basically a long rectangle, and then you fold it in half, and then you fold the raw edges inwards again, and then you just top stitch, and that is a great way to make a very long thin tube, especially if you don't have anything to turn it out with. And it is the exact same thing for the loops, except then you then cut up those ties into 2-inch wide loops. And the reason this is the first step is because, well, once you're making ties, you might as well make all of them, but also because you need to sew on the loops to the side panels before you actually sew the side seams. So that is the next step, is I'm going to pin all of these and then do a running stitch on the machine just to baste them into place. And then I think the next step is to put in the pockets, and then you can just do all the seams. But the other thing I'm actually going to do is to overlock all the edges as well, because this is the modern make, it's the easiest way to do it. I could French seam, but there's a lot of seams and it's just easier to overlock, and I have a nice overlocker now that I'd like to use more. So here we are. Oh, Merlin! Also guys, this is Merlin. This is my new kitten. He has been wreaking havoc, and he is not friendly to sewing things, so he might interrupt more videos. Merlin! Here's a small detail that no one else is ever going to see, but I thought was really nice. So I didn't have 4 cones of overlocker thread, and I didn't want, in red, and I didn't want to faff around with splitting it into other ones. So instead, I picked all the colours that kind of make up this plaid, and I made this sort of matching overlocker with 2 strands of black and 2 strands of different tones of red, and I actually think it looks really cool. So yeah, it never occurred to me that you can actually use different colours in your overlocker to achieve like even a match or a radiant or maybe even rainbow. That'd be fun. Anyway, small details. Oh my god, it's a dress. So I think last time I left you off, this didn't look like much yet, but that is because once you do start sewing the seams, it just comes together. So I put in the pockets, which sit quite low here, but I think that's because you obviously have the side lacing, so they can't really sit here unless, yeah. Anyway, there's pockets on either side. So then I just sewed up all of the seams with a normal stitch. There's a cat. And I put in the zipper. The zipper was a bit of a mess. I haven't done zippers in ages, and it was fine here, but then the finishing bit, I'm hoping I can press it out, but I had to refinish it by hand because it really wasn't doing very well. And then I also realized that if I had been more careful, I could have matched up the back, but also that's through a zipper and I didn't really want to. So yeah, it just comes together really quickly. I found the instructions easy to follow. The finishing for the neckline is supposed to be a bias binding tape kind of thing that you fold inside and stop stitched into place. I didn't have enough to cut bias binding, so I used straight binding, which is why it's a bit dodgy, but I think I'm going to press it into place and see if I can figure it out. And if I can't figure it out, then I'll undo the top stitching and just sew it down by hand, because I think that would be a bit more discreet. Now the last thing that I really have to do on this is just those bits of hand finishing and the hem, but also I kind of want to add sleeves to it. And just hear me out, I think it looks really good as is. The neighbours have been listening to music all day, so I'm going to wrap this up real quickly. But I think I do want sleeves because this is meant to be a comfortable everyday dress, and I think I'll just wear it more if it has short sleeves. So I'm thinking of adding quite plain sleeves here, or maybe puff sleeves. I don't really know. Oh god, he is. Merlin, please. Okay, I think it's time to wrap this up. I'm going to pick a type of sleeve. Pray for me. So while trying to decide what to do with the sleeves, I actually just looked at the pattern. Because they've added a collage at the end of a bunch of pattern testers and their makes, and you can really see some people have put sleeves on their dresses, and then I can very concretely see what kind of example of sleeves I might like. So I really like the look of cap sleeves. A lot of people have used cap sleeves and I think they really work. So I think that's exactly what I'm going to go with. However, the pattern doesn't include sleeves, so I'm going to have to go and dig out a sleeve pattern that I can use, so that might take a little while. Let's go. I have sleeves! So I've just pasted in the sleeves because I wanted to see if everything fit right. They're just cute little cap sleeves. I just took them from a straight sleeve block. However, I don't know if you can see, but there's something very weird going on at the back now. And I'm not really sure how to fix it. I guess my instinct is to pinch out the excess at the top. I think it's because I have quite a dramatic back, like my back is not straight, so there's always like a little bit of a curve there. But obviously, like, you should always try your dresses on how you stand rather than like standing very straight. So I think I'm gonna have to unpick the zipper and just pinch out that excess there because it's quite a lot, you know. Yeah, it's quite a lot. I think it's about like 4 inches almost. So yeah, the other thing I might do actually is just make darts, because I think that would be the easiest thing without disrupting the dress. So yeah, I'm gonna maybe baste in some darts and see if that works. So here it is. And that is it. I'm really pleased with this project. I think it really gives the vibe that I was going for. Like I said, I wasn't really like a full, I've been calling light emo. I liked a little bit of the punk stuff, but I didn't really, you know, subscribe to the whole thing. But I love this dress. I think it's great. And I showed it to you. It's fitted, but it's not in any way tight. It can be laced to be more fitted if you'd like. It can be laced to be a little bit looser, and it's just so comfortable. I absolutely loved it. It's the perfect length. I've really loved the addition of the cap sleeves because I think it just makes it way more wearable for every day for me personally. I love that I made it in a red plaid. I love that it's cotton, and overall as a pattern review, I really like this pattern. I think the outcome was perfect. I love it. The instructions were easy to follow. They made sense. The diagrams are useful, and particularly I really liked that at the end they included all the pattern testers so you can see the different kinds of combinations you could do, and they also included hacks where you could add sleeves, you could do color blocking, and there was even a back lacing hack instead. So overall I'm really well impressed. I'd like to check out more of their patterns, and I actually think I might make this dress again, because I think if I made it in a linen and maybe like floor length and without sleeves and worn over a chemise, it could be giving like everyday medieval. So I think that'd be the next iteration of this dress. But overall, really successful pattern that really has given me that Y2K nostalgia vibes of what it means to me particularly. So here's to taking trends and making them fit for you. But I think this has really scratched that nostalgic itch. So if you would like to support me, please check out my Patreon. There's a link down below. I post lots of things over there, including research posts and a monthly exclusive video. So check me out over there, and let me know if you think it's a good idea to make this dress again, because I'm pretty happy with it. So yeah, I love you all very much. I will see you all very soon for more sewing adventures.